So I'm starting a new series on Doctor Who, and essentially what I'm going to try and do in this series is go through about 5 episodes at a time of the new Doctor Who that started in 2005, and I'm going to start with series one and kind of work my way forward in that. I'm going to do 4 to 5 episodes depending on the length or the time frame within those episodes, and go through and I'll give you a synopsis based off of the not the the Wikipedia synopsis of the particular episodes. And then once I give you that synopsis, once I give you all of those synopses, I'll go through and do my ranking from lowest to highest of those particular episodes. And then once I get done with the series, I'll give you my top 5 for the series. And then once I get done, I'll also do the same for the individual doctors, which for Eccleston, that'll be the first series, period. And then for Tennant, after we get done with all of his episodes, Matt Smith, after we get done with all of his episodes, Capaldi, after we get done with all of his episodes, and then I will give you a ranking of top 5 for what I consider the top 5 or the top 10. By that point, I may decide that it's going to be a top 10 list of episodes for the entire New Who run at this point. And then at some point in the future, I'm going to try and go back and do the same thing for the old Doctor Who as well. But for now, I'm just going to leave it and start it off with just doing New Who at this point. So I will give you each of these about 3 or 4 paragraphs. I'll read through them, try and read through them, cut through them fairly quickly, try and make it a little bit entertaining, and then go through and give you my examples of exactly what I thought of, my rankings and what I thought of those episodes. So for the very first episode of New Who, it was Series 1, Episode 1, and it was called Rose. The synopsis is listed on Wikipedia is as follows. Rose Tyler, a teenage shop assistant, is being chased by mannequins in the basement of Henrik's, the department store where she works. She is rescued by the doctor, who destroys the building with an explosion. The next day, the doctor visits Rose at her home, where he is attacked by a plastic mannequin arm, which he and Rose subdue. Rose investigates the doctor and meets Clive, who has been tracking the doctor's appearances throughout history. Clive tells Rose the doctor is dangerous and that if he's there, something bad is about to happen. While Rose is talking to Clive, her boyfriend, Mickey Smith, is kidnapped by a wheelie bin and replaced with a plastic doppelganger. The fake Mickey takes Rose to lunch and attempts to question her about the doctor, but the doctor shows up and beheads the doppelganger. The doctor takes Rose and the plastic head to the TARDIS and attempts to use the head to locate the controlling signal. With the head connected, the TARDIS takes them to the London Eye. The doctor explains to Rose that the fake Mickey was an auton controlled by a signal from the Nestine consciousness. He has a vial of antiplastic that can be used to destroy the Nestine if necessary. Realizing the transmitter is the London Eye itself, Rose and the doctor descend underneath it to stop the Nestine consciousness. They find Mickey tied up but alive, and the doctor speaks to the Nestine consciousness. He tries to negotiate with it, but the consciousness blames the doctor for the destruction of its planet during the Time War. This is the first reference that we have to the Time War in New Who, is in the very first episode. The consciousness activates all the autons at a shopping arcade, where several shoppers are shot and killed, including Clive. The doctor is also held down by a pair of autons, but Rose rescues him, and the antiplastic drops into the vat where the Nestine consciousness resides, killing it. With the consciousness dead, the autons all collapse. The doctor uses the TARDIS to take Mickey and Rose home, and then persuades Rose, to join him as his new companion in the TARDIS. That's the first episode. Now, the second episode of the first series was The End of the World. And the synopsis for that is as follows. The Ninth Doctor takes Rose to the year 5.5/Apple/26, 5 billion years into her future. They land on Platform 1, a space station in orbit around Earth. They have arrived in time for a party celebrating the final destruction of Earth by the expansion of the sun. The Earth has long since been abandoned, but has been kept up by a historical trust. The Doctor uses his psychic paper to pass as their invitation to the party, and he and Rose find many elite alien beings there. The guests include Lady Cassandra O'Brien, billed as the last human, but actually a face on a large sheet of skin that must be continually moisturized. Also present are the face of Bo, the Mox of Balhoun, the Mox of Balhoun, the adherents of the repeated meme, and sentient and mobile trees from the forest of Cheem. Rose is overwhelmed by the strange beings and customs, as well as how distant she is from home, and leaves to an observation room to collect her thoughts. The Doctor follows her and tries to cheer her up by allowing her to call her mum Jackie, by altering her mobile phone to be able to work over the distance and time. Meanwhile, the gifts brought by the adherents of the repeated meme are revealed to contain robotic spiders that immediately work at disabling functions on Platform 1. The steward of Platform 1 recognizes something is wrong, but is killed when the spiders cause the solar filter of his room to lower and expose him directly to the powerful solar radiation. The Doctor goes to investigate with the help of Jabe of the forest of Cheem and discover the steward's death and the spiders. Rose attempts to learn more from Lady Cassandra, but only gets more upset over Cassandra's arrogance and insults her before storming off. The meme follows her and knocks her unconscious. She regains consciousness in an observation room where the solar filter is about to drop. She tries to escape but is locked in, but the Doctor learns of the lowering sun filter and manages to get the filter back up, but cannot get her out. Using a captured spider, the Doctor determines that the meme are responsible. The meme turn out to be empty shells, and the real controller is revealed to be Lady Cassandra. Cassandra admits to being the saboteur. Her original plan was to create a hostage situation with herself as one of the victims and profit from the compensation she would have got, but now intends to use their deaths to gain money from shares Cassandra holds in the guests' rival companies increasing in price. Cassandra teleports to her ship as the spiders bring down the shielding on the entire station and the gravity satellites are turned off. The direct radiation causes the solar filters to strain and crack, killing several of the guests from the intense radiation exposure, and once again threatening Rose. The Doctor and Jabe travel to the bowels of Platform 1 to restore the automated shields, but it requires one of them to travel through several spinning fans. Jabe recognizes the Doctor as the last Time Lord and sacrifices herself to hold down a switch to slow down the fan blades. This allows the Doctor to reactivate the system just before the expanding sun hits the station and destroys Earth. The Doctor returns to the remaining guests and Rose, who is now free of the observation room. Using a device he finds in the room, the Doctor reverses Cassandra's teleport and brings her back onto the station. In the elevated temperature and without moisturizing, Cassandra begins to dry out and crack. She begs for mercy from the Doctor, but he refuses to listen, and Cassandra ruptures. Rose notes that with all the events occurred, no one had actually witnessed the actual destruction of the Earth. The Doctor returns Rose to her present time and explains to her that he is the last of the Time Lords, and that his planet was destroyed in the wake of a great war. The episode closes with Rose and the Doctor going off to get chips on a sunny London afternoon. That's episode 2. Episode 3 was The Unquiet Dead. This is the episode that deals with Charles Dickens. The synopsis, as shown on Wikipedia, is as follows. And it's a little long, it's about the same length as episode 2 was. The Ninth Doctor and Rose land in Cardiff on Christmas Eve, 1869. At a nearby funeral parlor run by Gabriel Sneed and his servant Gwyneth, the corpse of the late Mrs. Pierce has been taken over by a blue vapor. She rises from her coffin and kills her mourning grandson before lurching away from the parlor. Gwyneth, a clairvoyant, senses that the corpse is going to see Charles Dickens at a nearby theater. In the middle of his performance, the blue vapor leaves Mrs. Peace and scares the audience away. The commotion attracts the attention of the Doctor and Rose, who rush to investigate. Sneed and Gwyneth arrive and capture the corpse, but are confronted by Rose and end up kidnapping her as well. Meanwhile, Dickens accuses the Doctor of ruining the performance, but after the Doctor explains what has happened to Rose, Dickens offers to help. At the funeral parlor, Rose wakes up along with the newly reanimated corpses of Mrs. Peace and Mr. Redpath. The Doctor and Dickens arrive and break into the parlor just in time to rescue Rose. After hearing about the trouble with the corpses, the Doctor convinces Gwyneth to help him hold a seance to attempt to communicate with the dead. The blue vapors fill the room and reveal that they are the remains of the Gelth, a once corporeal alien race until they were devastated by the Time War. They plead with the Doctor to open the rift that exists in the morgue and allow them to cross over. The Doctor offers the Gelth temporary use of the corpses until he can transport them to a place where they can build new bodies, using Gwyneth as a bridge to cross the rift. Gwyneth stands in the middle of an arch and opens the rift, allowing the Gelth to cross over. The number of Gelth is much greater than anticipated, and their true motive is revealed. They intend to kill the living to give themselves more hosts and take over the planet. One of the animated bodies strangles Sneed to death, allowing another Gelth to possess his body. Dickens flees the parlor, and Rose and the Doctor are trapped in a part of the morgue. Outside, Dickens realizes that the beings are affected by gas and returns to the house. He extinguishes the gas lights and turns the gas on full, putting the Gelth out of the bodies. The Doctor tells Gwyneth to send the Gelth back and close the rift, but she cannot close it or leave. Instead, she takes out a box of matches, intending to ignite the gas and hold the Gelth in one spot with the explosion. The Doctor determines that Gwyneth is already dead, and that by opening the rift, she is doomed herself. The Doctor, Rose, and Dickens flee the parlor just before it explodes and burns, trapping the Gelth and closing the rift. Dickens, having traveled to Cardiff alone, decides to leave immediately for London to patch things up with his family and to finish the mystery of Edwin Drood. The Doctor and Rose say their goodbyes and disappear in the time machine, the TARDIS, and the astounded Dickens walks away through the streets of Cardiff, greeting everyone he passes and quoting A Christmas Carol. God bless us, everyone. One piece you might want to note about that particular episode, the actress that played Gwyneth, and give me just a second here, so let me see if I can track her name down. It may not be on here. Oh, I don't see it. I don't think. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there we go. Eve Miles, I'm sorry. And most of you probably already knew that. Eve Miles actually portrays a character in the series Torchwood, one of the main characters in the series Torchwood, later on in time. And my understanding is that's how she kind of got connected to do that part, was her initial role within Doctor Who. So that was episode 3. Episode 4 is Aliens of London. Aliens of London was the 4th episode in the first series, and the synopsis as described on Wikipedia is as follows. Intending to return Rose to Earth 12 hours after her original departure, the Doctor miscalculates, arriving 12 months after they left. Rose's mother, Jackie, is furious with her, believing that Rose had been abducted and murdered. Rose's boyfriend, Mickey, is also upset, as he was suspected of murdering Rose. Excuse me. The old whistle starts to get a little dry after a while. As Rose expresses her frustration to the Doctor of not being able to tell the truth of where she's been, they witness a spacecraft crash through Big Ben and fall into the River Thames. Central London is shut down while the population become excited at the possibility of first contact with an alien species. The Doctor suspects trickery and uses the TARDIS to land inside the hospital where the alien pilot had been taken. The Doctor discovers that the alien craft was launched from Earth and that the pilot is really a common pig that has been modified by alien technology. The government is unable to locate the Prime Minister due to the confusion of the crash, and MP Joseph Green is named acting prime minister. Green is revealed to be a member of the Slitheen, a family of aliens that uses a device to compress their body into large human suits, resulting in frequent releases of flatulence. The farting aliens, as it were. Two other high members of the government, Margaret Blaine and Oliver Charles, are also revealed to be Slitheen. The Slitheen secretly celebrate luring the humans into their plan, but are unaware of their conversation being witnessed by Harriet Jones. When the Doctor returns to Rose, Jackie discovers the truth about the Doctor and the TARDIS and calls it in. They are surrounded by soldiers and escorted to 10 Downing Street. The Doctor is asked to join a panel of alien experts, including members of UNIT, and Rose is escorted into the building by Harriet. Harriet tells Rose about the aliens, and together they discover the Prime Minister's corpse. Before they can reveal their discovery, they are caught by Blaine, who begins to unzip her human suit to attack them. At Jackie's flat, a police officer also unzips his human suit and attacks Jackie for being associated with the Doctor. As the Doctor attempts to convince the experts of the forgery of the events, the Doctor realizes that the experts have been lured to Downing Street together as a part of a trap. Green sends an electrical shock through the assembled group. And that ends on that cliffhanger. That was the end of episode 4, which carries on into episode 5, which was World War III. Now, World War III synopsis goes as follows. Following from Aliens of London, the Ninth Doctor survives an electrical pulse from the Slitheen, while Mickey Smith is able to push aside the imposter police inspector advancing on Jackie Tyler and Jackie's flat. The Doctor attempts to get the police, but by the time he is returned, the Slitheen have gotten back into their suits. The Doctor escapes to the upper floors of 10 Downing Street and reunites with Rose and Harriet in the cabinet rooms. Just before sealing off the rooms, the Doctor confronts the Slitheen and learns that they are a family rather than a race. The Slitheen tell him that they are not invading Earth, but raiding it for some commercial purpose. Although the Slitheen have blocked all communication to the cabinet rooms, Rose's altered mobile phone allows her to make contact with Mickey and Jackie. The Doctor gives Mickey instructions on how to log into the UNIT website on his computer and uses the information to determine that the Slitheen ship is presently in the North Sea, transmitting a signal that the Doctor attempts to decode. After the Doctor figures out the Slitheen are weak to acetic acid, Jackie and Mickey use vinegary food from Mickey's flat to kill the fake police inspector that tracked them down. Green and the other Slitheen declare a matter of national emergency and matter of national security, and request that the UN release the activation codes to launch a nuclear strike against a fictitious mothership supposedly hanging over London. The Doctor realizes that the Slitheen actually planned to use the weapons against other countries in order to start World War III. The Slitheen planned to sell the Earth's radioactive remains as a fuel source, which they have already begun advertising through the signal Mickey has decoded. Though through Harriet's insistence, the Doctor helps Mickey hack into the controls of a Royal Navy submarine and fire a missile at 10 Downing Street, even though the Doctor is unsure that whether they will survive. The Slitheen are caught in the explosion when the missile hits, but the Doctor, Rose, and Harriet all survive. The press dismisses the events as a hoax. With the Prime Minister dead, the Doctor suggests that Harriet should have a go at it. Afterwards, Jackie invites the Doctor for dinner, but he declines. The Doctor gives Mickey a CD to upload to the internet that will remove all mentions of the Doctor from the web. He also privately offers Mickey the chance to come travel with him, but Mickey admits that he's too scared and wouldn't be able to handle it. He asks the Doctor not to tell Rose about his concerns. Rose arrives with a full backpack and asks the Doctor if Mickey can come along, and the Doctor covers for Mickey by saying that Mickey is a liability. And that is the end of the end of the synopsis for the 5th episode. And that ends the 5 episodes that I really kind of wanted to discuss in this particular episode of my Doc Who cast. So what I would like to do now is I'm going to rank these from all the way from 4 through 1. And you go, wait, there's 5 episodes. Well, I'm actually going to rank the story for Aliens of London and World War III. I'm going to rank that story together. I figure those 2 episodes fit together. They really should be ranked as one together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank those 2 together. What I will say is this. Number 4 is going to be Rose. I know Rose starts out the series. I know there are a lot of people that liked Rose. But in terms of these 4 episodes, Rose just sits at the bottom of that list. I thought all the other episodes actually contributed better to starting the series. I thought Rose was a decent start, but I thought there were pieces that could have been done better. And I thought the villain in it wasn't as strong as maybe it could have been. There were some other pieces to it that I just didn't quite enjoy as well. And so Rose ends up being my number 4. A couple pieces to it that I just really didn't like. I thought we dug into Rose's character a little bit, and we dug into a few other pieces, but we really didn't get kind of the in-depth introduction that I would have liked to have seen at that point. The other piece that, the plastic Mickey is so out of character. It just seems a little odd, and I didn't mind it as much as some people do, but I thought it could have been done better. And probably the last piece to it was I actually liked the character of Clive, and I was really disappointed that they couldn't continue forward with that character. I thought they probably could have done some other things in the series with him had they kept him around, as opposed to just deciding that he needed to be destroyed. So anyhow, that's my number 4. My number 3 is the 2-parter, World War III and Aliens of London. I actually don't mind the flatulence aspect of it as much as some other people do. I thought there was a very comedic aspect to that side of it, but I thought when the monsters actually came out, when they came out of their human skins, I actually thought they were very, the frightening aspect of them was done very well, especially with Margaret. I thought her character actually plays off really well, and this actually set up the episode later in the season with Margaret very well, to where her character flows from there. I thought the scene where she was tracking both Harriet Jones and Rose was very good, very well done. I thought she comes into that room and very specifically can tell that they're there, can specifically talk to them, and frightens them both fairly well. I thought that aspect of them being frightened within the context of that scene was done very well. So, but that is my number 3. My number 2, out of the last 2 that are left, and that's Unquiet Dead and End of the World. It's a tough decision between those 2, but I think what I have to do in this respect, I think I have to go with Unquiet Dead as number 2. I really like the aspect of Charles Dickens. I really like the historical aspect. I thought it set the tone well for New Who to be able to go back in the past and do episodes that have a historical aspect to them, but then also have a sci-fi aspect to them. I thought it set that up very well. There isn't really much difference in my estimation between those 2. It's just that the reason that I'm going to put The End of the World at number 1 out of this set of episodes simply is this: that I thought that as the number 2 episode in the revamp of Doctor Who, I thought it set up very well the sci-fi aspect of the show. I thought it set up the time travel aspect of the show very well, and I thought it just helped to further along the concepts of what Doctor Who has been in the past and what it was going to be going forward. That the science fiction aspect of it versus the historical aspect of it in a sci-fi show specifically was what targeted that one in this group of episodes as number one for me. Anyhow, that's kind of my opinion on it. I would very much relish the idea of you giving me your opinion down in the comments. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. If you didn't like the episode, please hit the dislike button and leave a comment down below for me telling me what I could do better, or what aspect of the show you didn't like, or if you just didn't like my opinion. And lastly, if you really like this and want to help me out in terms of building this channel, then I would ask that you shoot me a subscribe and also hit the bell button so that you can get a notification of when I post new videos. I'm going to try and do a couple of these at least a week, and potentially more, because I'm going to try and get through the whole new Doctor Who set that's out there right now, the full 10 series, before 13 series 11 with the 13th Doctor hits in the fall. And so I want to get these episodes out as well. Right now, I am actually up to about halfway through Series 3. And so I won't have any problem getting through them myself, but I'd like to get these out, because what I'd like to do is actually do some reviews of the episodes as they come up for Series 11, and then do a synopsis series like I'm doing here for that series once it's all done as well. And especially after the Christmas episode hits. And it'll be a little different for this series, because my understanding is there are only 10 regular episodes, and then the 11th episode will actually be the Christmas special. But it's a shorter series this go round than any other that we've had in New Who. So anyhow, that's kind of where I'm at with what exactly I want to do with this series. I appreciate your time, appreciate you listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Husk on!